All right, welcome to the second part of Unit 2. Now we're going to focus on the executive branch. In the executive branch, the main component of the executive branch is going to be the President of the United States. So, the executive branch is set up by Article 2 of the United States Constitution. The Constitution is divided up into 7 articles. Article 1 deals with the legislative branch. Article 2 deals with the executive branch, and Article 3 deals with the judicial branch. So our current president is Barack Obama. The president's job description is really complicated. He has 8 different roles that he fills. Okay? Not every role is described in detail or by name in the Constitution, but these are things that the president generally takes control of. First and foremost, he's the chief of state, which means he is the ceremonial head of the government, and he represents the United States. So when you think of the United States government, you generally think of the chief of state, the president. You don't think of it like an obscure senator. You don't think of the Supreme Court, you think of the president. 2, he's the chief executive, means he accepts or rejects legislature, which means laws, okay? And then he enforces those laws. He's the chief administrator, it means he's the boss of all the federal employees. It means he directs administration, and he employs almost 3 million people. He's a chief diplomat, which means he's in charge of America's foreign policy. He appoints ambassadors, and he can establish treaties with other nations without going through Congress. Okay, so that's something called an executive agreement. When a president goes over to another country and makes a treaty, that's him executing an executive agreement. Executive agreement means that the president has made a deal with another country without Congress's approval. He's the commander-in-chief, which means that he's in charge of the entire U.S. military. That means any major military decisions are made by the President of the United States. He's the chief legislature, which means the President works with Congress to design new laws or public policy, and then he sets the overall goals for the country. So President Obama, one of the big things he was elected for was healthcare reform, and so the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, got pushed through Congress because the president was really pushing for it. And so in a way he acts as the chief legislature. He's also the chief of his party, which means that he's the head of their political party. By becoming president, he sets the tone for the rest of the Republicans or the rest of the Democrats. He's also a chief citizen, which means he's a role model for all Americans. And remember, after discussing Bill Clinton's impeachment trial, that's what came under fire is whether he could be considered a good role model as for Americans as President of the United States. Let's see, there are three qualifications to become president. 1, you have to be a natural-born citizen of the United States. Generally, what that means is that you are born within the borders of the United States to American parents. This includes if you were born at an embassy in another country. So some people are natural-born citizens, but they're born in another country, but they're born American. So you have to be born American. You have to have lived in the United States for at least 14 years, and you have to be at least 35 years old. Our youngest president ever elected was JFK, John F. Kennedy. So more than 180,000 people meet these requirements in the United States. A president's term is 4 years, as set by the Constitution of the United States. Now, is there a limit on the number of terms a president can have? Yes, there is now. It's set to 2 terms. This became law in 1951 with the 22nd Amendment, placed a limit on 2 terms for any president because Franklin Delano Roosevelt ran and won 4 terms, and so he was president for 16 years. And this made a lot of people really worried because he was like an American dictator. You know, he was president forever. Before him, every president had stepped down after 2 years, or after 2 terms, sorry. That was something that was set by George Washington. He was president for 2 years, or 2 terms, stepped down, and then every president after him followed suit and only ran for two terms. Until Roosevelt won 4 terms. Congress was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I thought everybody would respect the 2-term thing. Let's make it a law. Presidential pay, he gets $400,000 a year, but he actually gets more than that. He gets $400,000 a year in his paycheck, but then he gets another $100,000 a year in travel expenses. He has a $50,000 expense account, $20,000 for entertainment, and then he gets a $144,000 pension every year. So he gets $144,000 every year until the day he dies. He also gets Air Force One, Camp David. He gets Secret Service protection. He gets Marine One, which is a helicopter, and a presidential limo. Former presidents still getting reimbursed for travel, office staff, and you get lifetime Secret Service protection. Now, that was changed in '97. Now, former presidents get Secret Service protection for a maximum of 10 years after their term as president ends. So you have 10 years of Secret Service protection. Bill Clinton is the last president to have a lifetime protection. Also, former presidents, they make a ton of money going around the country giving speeches. So people pay them $100,000 to give a 40-minute speech. It's a pretty good gig. So these are the living presidents. You have George H.W. Bush. You have Barack Obama. You have George W. Bush, William Clinton, and Jimmy Carter. The next video, we're going to talk about the vice president,